It's time to revisit the exciting topic of machine learning. Previously in this course, your data science team had to build a recommendation model using Spark ML that you then ran on Cloud Dataproc for scale. Later in this module, you're going to be building custom models yourself with just SQL using BigQuery ML. But before we jump into the code, we need to expand our machine learning foundation and then cover the models and the key terminology that you need to know before we set you off to make predictions. When people think of AI or machine learning, they generally think of the advanced models like you saw earlier on Google Photos video stabilization and the smart reply feature in Gmail. And yes, later in this course, you will build image models on unstructured datasets. But did you know that at Google, the majority of the models deployed are models that operate on structured data? These aren't your 50-plus layer deep neural networks that play StarCraft or chess. They're built on rows and columns of data, just like you've seen and experimented with inside of BigQuery. So, if you have a structured data set that you think is a good use case for machine learning, the next step is to find a model type that is appropriate for your use case. Out of all the models out there, what's a good place to start for you to start prototyping? Here's a decision tree, no pun intended, to help guide us. We'll walk through each of the different branches. The first question is what kind of activity that you're engaging in. Is there a right answer or a ground truth that exists in your historical data that you want to model and then predict? If so, you want to start with supervised learning. Alternatively, if you're interested in just ruminating and exploring the data for unknown relationships, you're welcome to try unsupervised learning with maybe a clustering model to start. Unsupervised learning is outside the scope of this course, but I'll link you to a few resources to show how you can do it quickly with a clustering model inside of BigQuery ML. The majority of the problems we're going to tackle here are in these three areas. First, forecasting. That's like predicting the next month's sales figures, the demand for your product. Second, classifying, like high, medium, or low risk events, or buy or no buy decisions. And third, maybe recommending something like a product for a given user. An easy way to tell if you're forecasting or classifying is to look at the type of label or special column, we'll cover that more later, of data that you're predicting. Generally, if it's a numeric data type, like units sold or profits earned, you're doing forecasting. If it's a string value, you're typically doing classification. This row is either in this class or this other class. And if you have more than two classes or buckets, like high, low, medium, you're doing what's called multi-class classification. Now, once you have your problem outlined, it's time to go shopping for models, which will be the tools to help you achieve your goal. Now, there are many different model types for you to choose from for these problems. We're recommending you start with the simpler ones, which can still be highly accurate, to see if they meet your benchmark. By the way, your ML benchmark is the performance threshold that you're willing to accept from your model before you even allow it to be near your production data. It's critical that you set your benchmark before you train your model, so you can really be truly objective in your decision making to use the model or not. Now on to types of models. For forecasting, try out linear regression. For classification, try logistic regression. By the way, it's called binary logistic regression if you have just two classes or buckets that an observation can fall into, or multi-class if it's more than two. For recommendations, try matrix factorization, which is a commonly used algorithm for problems involving a matrix of users and items, like your housing rentals example. Now here's the complete picture again. You'll see later with BigQuery ML that you can just specify model type equal to linear regression, for example, and BigQuery handles the rest for you. What didn't you see here that you might have heard of in terms of a model type? There's many different types of models out there that you may not see on this chart. More complex models like deep neural networks, decision trees, random forests are also available for modeling. You'll even build a custom model using neural architecture search to build a deep neural network later on in this course, and you'll do so without using any code. That's with AutoML. It's my overall recommendation that even if you know how to build advanced models, that you start with the simpler ones first, because they often train faster, and they give you an indication of whether or not ML is even a viable solution for your problem.